welcome everyone. I hope you've had a good start to your day so far. So I'm Michelle Amugi and I'm a program manager for the Dare UK program. And part of my role is leading on this funding call along with UKRI. So today really is about just giving you all some time to ask any questions that you might have and provide answers to you, or if not, follow up with answers following this session. It is an hour long. It may be that some people will come in a bit later on just to ask questions. So I will stay on the call for the whole hour, but feel free to drop in and out as you please. I am going to start off with just a couple of slides, just to kind of go over some key points around the call, but then the rest of the time will be just open for questions. So just about 10 minutes on a bit of introduction. Just a bit of housekeeping. So sometimes Teams likes to unmute people as they join. So just please make sure that you are muted for now. So whilst I'm going through the slides, you just keep yourself muted. But then when it comes to question and answers, of course, feel free then to raise your hand and then when called upon to unmute yourself and ask any questions that you might have. For now, if you just keep video off, it sometimes helps with the bandwidth of the internet. So, that if you could just keep your cameras off for now, that's fine. But with the Q&A, please do show your faces. It'd be lovely to see who's asking the questions. And then this webinar is going to be recorded, and the slides and recording will all be put on our website, so on the relevant page for this call on the Dare UK website, and I'll also share it with everyone who signed up to the webinar after the call. So just a couple of points, just first of all, going over the focus of this funding call. So this is all about different approaches, new ideas that address challenges in the TRE landscape. So DARE is all about TREs, sensitive data, connectivity between different TREs, and how we can improve that across the UK. So we already have some key programs of work being funded in the Dare UK Transformational Programme, and you can look on our website or view the recording or slides from the last webinar to find out more about the work they're doing if you're not sure about that. So we're looking for things outside of that. We're not looking for you to propose to do the same things that they're doing because we've already funded programs of work to look at that area. So what we're hoping to see is applications that look at early stage innovation in TRE infrastructure, conceptualization, testing, and technical validation of new capabilities and core services, and ideally for those things to be linked to the insights that we shared in our landscape reviews. So we had 2 landscape reviews published in phase 1, one in October 2021 and another one in October 2023. And within that, we set out some insights and some recommendations around how to move forward sensitive data research in the UK. And we've also published a federated architecture blueprint, which again outlines DARE's proposal on how to improve sensitive data research in the UK. So if your proposals could build upon that, that would be useful because then it's definitely within scope. That isn't to say that they have to completely, it just needs to be in the scope of Dare UK and relevant to the TRE landscape. But please do refer to those key resources to help guide your applications. Like just going over the eligibility criteria. So you must be eligible for funding to be the lead application on this. And the funding that we are given is at 80% FEC. So the lead organisation will need to cover the additional 20% there. Now, industry partners can apply. Others can apply if they're not, can be parts of applications if they're not eligible for UKRI funding, but there is strict rules upon the relationship and the way in which other partners can be a part of a proposal. The lead applicant, must be a UKRI eligible organisation. And so just to call out there, if you are an industry partner or if you are going to be working with an industry partner, it is important that the industry collaboration framework, which is available on the UKRI website, is reviewed and completed. This is just a key point to stress. So in terms of funding available, the full cost, so the 100% cost, can be up to £319,000, and the MRC Council will fund 80% of that. But just something to call out, which is that for this funding opportunity, whilst the total envelope is £2.25 million, 1.875 million of that is available in 25-26, and 375,000 is available in 26-27. So it isn't an equal distribution of funding. The funding is very much more available in 25-26 than it is in 26-27. Those are the buckets of money that we have. So we recommend that when you are costing your projects, you really front load the costs in 25-26, because the envelope of money in 26-27 is quite limited. So factor that in when you are doing your costs for the project. And just lastly, just going over the fact that the call is going to be run through the funding service. I'm sure if you're here today, you probably have already started your application on the funding service. You're registered and everything's fine. But if you have not, please do make sure that you do that as a matter of urgency if you are planning to submit an application, because it has to go through that system. If you're not already registered, it can take some time to get you up and running on the funding service system. And then just a reminder of the deadline, which is the 5th of June, Thursday, and at 4:00 p.m. sharp. And then just a couple of things to touch on just around PIE, that project teams should have a dedicated PIE lead, and the project plan should include PIE plans. So it's not just, talking about everything else and leaving out PIE. We do want to see PIE plans embedded into the overall approach section of the application. And there are bullet points to guide you to make sure you include those things. And we do have a Dare UK public involvement engagement guidelines document, which really pinpoints and gives tips on good practice around public involvement and engagement in funded projects. So do refer to that to help guide what good PIE involvement looks like. So summary of key dates then. The call opened on the 4th of April, is due to close 2 weeks from now. Yep, exactly 2 weeks from now at 4:00. And then the funding panel meeting, the aim from UKRI is for that to take place in August, early August. The hope is that funding decisions will be communicated in August, but I've just given a bit of a buffer there. So at the very latest, in September, applicants will hear of the outcome from their applications. And then the projects will be 12 months, so starting approximately around September 2025 and ending in September 2026. And that's all from me. Just a very quick run through. So I'm going to stop sharing and open it up to any questions that you might have, whether it's, issues that perhaps you've encountered or things that you want clarified whilst you're submitting your applications. I'll do my best to answer, but if not, we'll follow up. So I think, Ugo, you had your hand up first, so yes, go for it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Michelle. So my question is, can commercial companies such as platform developers can be a collaborator in the project? And if so, how their costing should be done for the platform?
It's a good question. So they can be collaborators. They can't be the lead organizations, but they can be collaborators. I want to say that they can act as subcontractors, so as project planners or partners, and as in a subcontractor role. However, I'm going to just double check that because it's part of the UKRI guidelines. So they have their quite clear eligibility criteria. So I will just double check that and follow up, but they definitely can participate, not as a lead organization. I think the right function is as a subcontractor, but I will come back and just confirm that via email, that is.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And then we had a question in the chat. Sorry, did you have another question, Hugo? Go.
Yes, sorry. And the costing will be, if they can be subcontractor, the cost of the platform and the project can be done as well, or it should be like voluntary if they are subcontractor.
Yeah, this is to do with the UK and more. I believe they can claim some costs, but there is something about the relationship in terms of what costs can be claimed. So I believe it doesn't have to be voluntary. They can claim for some costs in that relationship.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. A question from Ravi just around whether the project deadline, so the submission deadline this is, whether that can be extended. Is that right, Ravi? So in terms of
Yes,
the U, yes.
yes.
So you mean the UKRI deadline for applications?
Yeah, we came to know, and I was waiting for this webinar, and it came very last moment. And in universities, take a lot of time to go through the budget approval and those things. So that's why I asked for. They already in my university, they already set up a deadline that you need to apply 2 or 3 weeks before for request, and that's the reason I ask. It's very weird things happening. So I just wanted to know what is the possibility is there.
Yeah, unfortunately not. We can't extend the deadline because it is what has been publicized and we need to give a kind of equal, fair opportunity to everyone. And that is a time scale that everyone has been working to. It is a hard deadline of the 5th of June. And also because we have quite tight timescales even for dairy in terms of when we need the outputs for, and with the funding envelope as well, that money being very much front loaded in 25, 26, we need to start the project so we can get that money out the door. So yeah, unfortunately, Ravi, it can't be extended.
Okay, no issue. I just wanted to know.
Yep.
And do you
Um,
have any kind of it's my follow-up question? Sorry for that. Do you
that's
have
okay.
any expectation? What kind of project you're giving a priority? Is that there any examples are there? Means
So I can share, so in the full course specification on the UKR website, we do outline some framing assumptions, so kind of ideas that we have about how the landscape is going to evolve over the next few years, and for applications to consider those things. We also do set out a list of potential areas. It's not at all exhaustive, but there is a list of potential areas that people can apply to focus on. But ultimately, it will be the panel who are completely independent from the Dare UK team who will determine which projects are most viable, most useful, and therefore should receive funding. So on the UK website in the course specification, there's some guidance, not at all exhaustive, but it gives some ideas, but it will be the panel's decision ultimately.
okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Ravi. Alexei?
Right, just a moment. So I'll also thank you very much. I would like to join to the very first question here. So basically, we need some clarification about ways a company, industrial partner can participate. My understanding is, in principle, there are different ways to participation, but what we need to know, and pretty soon, whether in principle it's possible to pay a company as a subcontractor from a grant money, or if it's not possible or undesirable, then what are other ways of cooperation? The point is when guidelines, they list all possible things the company can do. It didn't mention those subcontractors as an option. On the other hand, it mentioned ICF. And when you look at ICF decision diagrams concerning ICF actually show subcontractor path. So that's created a bit of confusion on our side in discussion with company, what we can do, or what we can plan or cannot plan. So my question is, yes, is it possible to clarify as soon as
Yeah.
possible this type of things?
Yeah. Okay. Most definitely. So this is about whether or not essentially can industry partners be paid as subcontractors?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
can it also be combined with them taking part as just collaborators? I mean, just part of work they would be as a subcontractors, as the other part they would provide basically case study and this type of thing. So the question is how much this subcontractor side is possible.
Yeah. I know definitely from previous experience where UCO have run calls, we have had industry partners who have been paid as subcontractors, although I also know that that can vary according to funding calls. What I'm going to do, I think Deb, who is our UCO lead, isn't on the call as far as I can see, but I will just take that to her as a matter of urgency just to get complete clarity. I don't want to commit and promise something that actually might be different to what UKRI guidelines are, but I completely understand the urgency around that. So I'll get an answer as soon as possible on that.
Thank you.
And then we have Liangzhu. I hope I've chosen the right name and pronounced it correctly there.
Hi, hi. Sorry. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Thank you very much for organizing this event. So basically, I don't think I can apply because due to the tight deadline. However, I really want to understand this DARE UK program because I recently received the different notifications. One is for this, another one is for pre-announcement. So my question, was that so any research organization can apply, not just the organization where they have a link with their UK program, right?
That's a really good question. Yes, so this call and the pre-announcement, and that's for the research exemplar program of work. Both of those calls are completely open. You don't have to have worked previously with the DARE UK program or been funded in any way, shape, or form. It's an open call for all eligible research organizations to apply for, and then an independent panel will then determine whether or not your work is funded.
Oh, okay. So I did notice the other pre-announcement that said it said if you previously adopted or early adopter, or there is some link, they will preferably for those people who already involved in the early adopter.
Yeah, so Langshu, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Her question is around oh good. So this is around, just for everyone else, a call that we've pre-announced at the moment on the UKR website for researchers. And what we want them to do is to test capabilities that we're already developing. Now, as part of that, it might be useful for these researchers to work with the TREs who are part of our early adopters, program of work, but it's not a requirement. Yeah, so it might be advantageous because those TREs are already working with Treevolution, testing, implementing their capabilities. But it doesn't have to be only them. It can be outside of that. And that would also be useful to us to have completely new TREs with researchers working and trying out these tools.
Yeah. Thank you so much for clarification. And one more question about this DARE you can add the research environment. How can we actually make a connection now, contact with this research environment? Should we just directly email them, say, oh, we would like to access this infrastructure and to do something, to develop some like software or analytics?
So is this in terms of the early adopters, you mean?
Yeah, no, in terms of the overall to access their UK program, because I already noticed the many call announced by your organization, by this funder, but the problem is that sometimes we don't know how to actually connect with you, connect with their UK, the research environment. So let's say if I have a use case, we do have a lot of use case, but how can we actually connect with you so that we can actually apply our use case to this environment? So that's my question. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, so with DARE in and of ourselves, we don't have our own research environments, but we're working with the Treevolution team who are an amalgamation of different research environments and who are developing tools, and then the TRE adopters. I think there's different mechanisms. So, for example, we have things like the DARE UK newsletter, where we do share and promote opportunities and workshops, things like the UK TRE conference, where people can come together and network and talk about developments in the space and how to support that work. I think in terms of funding work, it's through opportunities such as the early adopter scheme. But even though we've only funded certain TREs, we would still like to work with other TREs. So I think the best, I can probably give you my email to stay in touch. And then if you sign up to the Day UK newsletter, you can get updates there as well. We do have regular forums, the UK TRE community being one of those key forums where we come together and we share and have networking opportunities. So I think that would be a great forum to become involved with. I think my colleague Najma has just put on the channel some links to the Day UK community groups. And those are groups that are working on different challenges and issues around TREs, and we funded some of those groups, others are unfunded. But again, that's a fantastic forum to become involved with to get a sense of what is taking place in the space and what is upcoming. And Najma, if you wouldn't mind, maybe if you just post a link directly to the UK TRE community and how to sign up if you have it to hand. If not, I can perhaps share it in a follow-up email.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, because I'm new to the Dare UK, this TRE environment, but I always noticed that there are some opportunities coming out. I think I just wondering how can we involve, because we also build this scalable analytics AI solution. So we do have a use case. How can we actually involve?
Yeah,
so that's kind
definitely.
of yeah. Thank you.
And can I ask where are you based?
I'm based in Manchester.
Okay.
Yeah, Manchester. We do also have the secure data environment. That's from Great Manchester secure data infrastructure. We do have this, but it looks like this TRE environment, it seems a different data infrastructure. That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, lovely. I'll put my email address and we can perhaps connect further around this.
Sure. Thank you so much for clarification. Yeah.
That's okay. Next we have Tianqi.
Hi, Michelle. Hi.
Hi.
First of all, thank you very much for organizing this seminar. And just one thing about the public involvement and engagement, the PIE things you mentioned earlier. I'm sorry that I missed the beginning part. I'm just wondering, because there's one section upon looking at upon checking on the funding page, I can see there's one section talk about public involvement and engagement. So they talk about PIE roles and responsibilities, strategies, activities. So from what I can see, it requires a quote, the application should include a public-friendly summary that includes the description of the planned public benefits of the project, as well as an explicit and comprehensive work stream on PIE according to the guidelines and so on. So I'm just wondering, for the application form perspective, like the work tribe, from what I can see, there's no such section specifically required for the PIE. The only thing I can find is under the approach section, so which has a word limit around like 2,800 words. And they ask for provide the project plan, including the milestone and timelines. And then it refers to the project plan must include the public involvement and engagement PIE plans. So can I quickly check, is this PIE engagement things, do we have to embed it into the overall approaches sections, or do we have to embed it into the all sections, including other sections as well? So basically, it's just for the application perspective, how can we embed these elements, the PIE element, into the overall structures, everything?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the main place for it to go is in the approach section. It doesn't need to be embedded into all of the other answers. Aside from perhaps in the cost justification area, you should also cost for PIE activities. But yes, in the approach question, that's where you should touch on your PIE plans. And then when you do the Gantt chart with the project plan, that project plan should also include PIE work. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it answers actually, because the plan we're thinking, it might be involved different other things as well. So I'm just wondering, do I have to make sure that all the plans, let's say about the Gantt charts, does that mean that all the parts of the plan has to be related to PIE, or some of it may be related to it, or some others may relate to other things like the conceptual things or whatever?
Yeah, I think as long as, so it's kind of the overall concept, the overall work that you're doing, setting that out, and then having at least one work stream that is around PIE, rather than for every single component, PIE being with every component. It's kind of, the overarching plan, and then how you're going to link PIE to what you're doing.
I see. So it doesn't mean that we have to make sure the overall plan, everything detailed with PIE. Just make sure like kind of like one core component as one related to PIE, and the rest of it just kind of like around there. So yeah. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. That's okay. Okay, and then I think Pedro, possibly. I'll go for Pedro first, Pedro Alves, because I'm not sure if that's a legacy hand from Yangshu.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, how are you? Thanks, Michelle. I have a few questions. Actually, the first one was the one around subcontracting. So, if we can get some clarification on that, that would be wonderful. Another one was, is there a limit for the number of institutions involved in the application? So we have one lead organization, I guess that will be the one. But then can we have co-lead institutions involved and subcontractors? Is there a limit for the number of institutions per category?
No limit.
Okay.
However large you decide your consortium is going to be based on what it is you want to do and the needs, that is fine. It's just a case of as long as you feel you can work effectively with all those partners. But yeah, no limit from our point of view on how many partners can be involved.
Right. Yeah, perfect. And I've noticed that in the guidelines and even in the presentation that you showed, you're aiming for either conceptualization, early testing, early validation. But can you frame this within the technology readiness levels you are expecting? Is it 4 to 6? Is it do you have it set or defined in a way, or it's a broad range of readiness levels that you are looking for?
Yeah, we would see this as if it's early concept, very much the kind of beginnings of ideas. There's no issue with that at all. If we take just an example, the Tree Evolution Program work that we funded, that almost begun with the cycle we're re-beginning now, in that in 2021 there were initial ideas that then were taken forward in 2023 that now have been taken further forwards in 2025. But even then, they're not necessarily ready to go out to be delivered on a large scale to the world as yet. So it's very much, if it's a very early concept, that isn't an issue at all. We're not expecting it to be, ready or far developed. It's kind of initial thinking and ideas that then are going to begin to be developed.
Okay, yeah, all right. Because I was questioning this because from conceptualization to validation, it's quite a broad range of maturity. So, for instance, if you have a solution that is closer to market, but it's newer to the TRE environment in the UK, would this be something you are looking for, or there would not be an interest in this solution?
Okay, so almost on the other end of the spectrum, in that it's actually more mature.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think that would be an issue. I think if it is relevant and useful, and it is something new, a new idea that we hasn't entered into our space or into our knowledge, that wouldn't preclude that we would. It's a panel who ultimately would decide, but I wouldn't see that as being a reason to count against you or the application, should I say?
Right. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you for your answers.
That's okay. I'm just gonna have a look at the chat. We've got a question from Ronan. In terms of the timeline of the research project itself, must the proposal be for 12 months of research, or could it be for a shorter time? 12 months. But I wouldn't mind a bit of clarification, Ronan, when you refer to the research project itself. What do you mean by that? If Ronan's still here. Okay, I think Ronan isn't here any longer. But in terms, for this call 2.0, it's a 12-month project. It will be 12 months. It should span that full duration. All funded projects will have the same start and end time. And the aim is to maximize that 12 months. And so to propose a timeline based on the 12-month period, not any shorter. And then we've got a question in the chat from Tomoto, just around, can our project utilize the DARE UK's existed federated architecture? If yes, how is it possible? I appreciate you can give some example. That is an interesting question. Is Tomato in the room? Yes. I guess you're asking me for examples, but I wouldn't mind an example of when you say the federated architecture. Do you mean the work that Treevolution are working on, and it being some kind of tour aspect, something different that would build upon what they're doing, but it's still new? Is that what you're proposing there, Tomato? And again, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. So we are collaborating with one TRE, but my understanding is that this fund requires innovation between TREs. Budget is limited to implement test federated TRE solution. In this case, is it enough to create future plan or future concept of federated TRE solution, scalability to the whole of UK? So this is obviously a separate question, isn't it? So I would say in terms of your first question around whether or not you could build upon what is already being done, I think so. It needs to be novels. I think it's just, I will leave it to you to kind of determine. Like, I don't want to deter anyone from applying. But yeah, so it should be something that is new in the sense of, yes, it's, even if it is taking something that is already there, it's building upon it. Because we do want complementarity, we do want, things to work with what is already there, but also to bring in a different and new perspective. So I can't necessarily guide you on exactly what that would look like or be, because we're almost looking for you to tell us what you think is useful and good to do. But I can say that it wouldn't be a definitive no if you did apply to do things in that way. Although that would be for the panel basically would consider it along with everything else and would decide the utility of such an approach. And then I'm just moving on to your next question, which is around, so PIE, we're thinking how we write PIE framework in our application. What kind of information do you recommend the PIE framework should have in the application? How much detail would you need? So I think it does need to be well thought through. So for example, in our panel, we will have public contributors who will be looking at the PIE plans and the robustness of them. I think that it should be embedded at key stages. So kind of throughout the project, it should be based on need rather than just tokenistic. So kind of thinking very carefully about what are the key questions that need to be taken to the public? What is the best way to do this in an effective manner? So I think it should be reasonably detailed to show that it is not just a throw in, but it has been carefully thought through. And it should, kind of detail what the plans are. I think the costs are important. I think often people can overlook, that PIA is costly. It does involve funding, so make sure that's factored into the cost and resource justification. So kind of, in the Gantt chart, there should be PIE plans at different stages as to what you intend to do and when and why. And then a question from Sujin Lee in the chat, and then perhaps I'll take your question with your hand up as well after that. So are NHS England SDEs part of the UK TREs or not considered for the call? So Sujin, are you asking as an NHS SDE organization?
Yeah, so because those SDEs, because there were currently 11 or 12, I think, so SDEs now established, and I think Mingqiu actually commented on it. She seemed to be saying that SDEs are not included. I just want to get a clarification about if SDEs are considered as TRE as well, because they are very similar. They are also trusted search environment for NHS data only. So if SDEs are valid TREs, I think many people, I personally have some connection with local SDEs. Many people would probably go to get easier access with SDEs than other TREs. So just want to get a clarification about eligibility.
Okay.
If we work with SDEs, that they count basically. So.
Yes, SDEs are definitely included. SDEs are TREs to us. It's just different language, but essentially the same thing. But yes, so SDEs, like we work closely with a number of SDEs as part of our early adopters and many other things as well. But yes, most definitely, SDEs are you can work with SDEs because they are considered as TREs. It's just a different term that's used to refer
Okay.
to them.
Can I ask a follow-up, different question? So in the call, I remember they were talking about kind of a challenge the current TRE's capabilities. I wonder if that is particularly referred to things current TREs cannot do, or maybe they are doing, but quite, struggling with, or it can be something more about improving what they are doing. So just want to see to what extent they need to be more creative, innovative, something so new that they haven't think about, or it can be about incrementally improve what they do, things like that.
Yeah, I think it can be either. It can be incremental improvement, or it can be, completely kind of a blue sky thinking and out there. I think it's just anything that is pushing the dial, moving things forward towards a better state, is within scope.
Okay, thank you very much. I saw there's no other question. Allow me to ask another question, if I may. So I know you have another pre-announcement and about Dare UK for the real-world exemplar applications. I wonder, I know that one might still be early stage, but at this moment, do you have any clarification about how these two calls differentiate from each other?
Yeah, so this call is about new approaches, new technologies. It's not necessarily about, it's not about doing research and answering research questions. It's about I'd say the tools, the capabilities, the solutions that will help to enable research to be done with more ease. Whereas the pre-announcement for the Research World Exemplars program, that is part of the transformation program cycle of work that we're doing, where we have this tree evolution program we've already funded, where they, a couple of years back, introduced some new ideas, which have gradually become developed further and further. And they are getting to the point where they should within a year or two maybe be production ready. So we need now researchers to try using those tools to answer real research questions and say, okay, actually, this does simplify things, or this does help. So to test it and see whether those tools are ready to roll out, the impact it has on conducting research. So that's what that call is all about. It's about researchers who probably already have access to data sets, who answer some research questions, which involves combining data from more than one source using those tools. And then this call, in a way, arguably separate to that, is about new other approaches that later on down the line, researchers will be able to use to make things even better and even easier than the ones that they're testing in the pre-announcement call. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much. I think it's quite clear. This means that for the next call, we will be pointed at the tools which are already being available so that we can then start thinking about how to use them. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Are there any further questions? I might just see if I can get my UKRI colleague. I don't know how feasible it is, but just around that industry question. So I know that is something very important that's outstanding, and I will just do my best to get an answer around that today. So just kind of a bit more clarity on the relationship that industry partners can have and whether they can be paid via the subcontractor route or whether the contributions have to be voluntary. So just as much insight on that as possible. I will ask Deborah Oluwasanya to give some feedback on that, on UKRI's position. I'm just wondering if there's any further questions or anything else outstanding that you need me to follow up on to help you with your applications. Yes, Chanki.
Yeah, sorry, it's me again. Yeah, just
That's
one quick
okay.
question. Yeah, just one quick question about the industry, because there's one section on the application form asked for the industry collaboration framework. So that one, could I ask, is it just industry only, or if it's just in any case, if we work with TREs or SDEs, do I have to fill that one as well? So if we only work with the TRE, let's say SDEs, do I have to worry about the industry collaboration framework in that section? Because it requires like 1,500 words. So I asked for the collaboration agreement definition of basic applies research and so on and so forth. Yeah.
I think, I can just double check, but as far as I know, it is only for industry partners. Yeah, because so SDs, for example, I think some of them aren't necessarily UK eligible for funding. So there is something around the nature of their relationship, but they're still not industry, so they don't have to complete the industry. You don't have to complete the industry collaboration framework if you only are partnering with them. But yeah, I'm just having a very quick cursory glance of the specification. Okay, it does say the assessor looking for you to confirm if your proposed work involves collaboration with an industry or company project partner. So industry or company, an enterprise that puts or has intention to put goods or services on the market. Services. I wouldn't see SDs falling into that category. Just my interpretation. However, just to kind of be categorically clear, I can go back to UKRI and just confirm that. So essentially, you're asking if I'm just going to write in the chat just to for my own memory. So if SDs are participating as project partners, does the ICF form need to be completed? Is that a summary of your question?
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
Or something else. Well, apart from the SDE and DRE, what are there any others? Like, let's say if we talk about like secure data service, do we have to put them as industry, like category them as industry as well? So yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and apologies that I can't give you a kind of an answer on that and on the ICF. And I think, to be honest, some of the UKI guidelines can be a minefield. So I understand why there is this this challenge in kind of navigating and working out exactly what needs to be done. Yeah, and I don't want to say something that isn't true and then suddenly it becomes a barrier in the future. So yeah.
Yeah, can I send you an email later so we can follow up on that one?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Operator or subcontractor for the commercial companies. So the difference between being a collaborator and a subcontractor. It's typical when our UKI lead isn't here, I get all the UKI questions. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not, again, sorry. Again, I'm not 100% sure on the difference. It would be a case of me looking through the guidance now and trying to interpret it. So again, what I'm going to do, I might try and just see soon after this call. I'm presuming my colleague was in a meeting and that's why she wasn't able to attend, but I will just try and get her on a call and actually get these answers to you by the end of the day, if possible. It's kind of dependent on whether I can get input from those other avenues. But yeah, it differs according to different organizations, and UKI have their policy as to the difference between a collaboration and subcontractor for commercial companies. It's quite nuanced. So I will come back to you on that. It's another outstanding question. So we've got 3 outstanding questions there that we need. And I'll make sure that I do send it to everyone because I can see that a lot of this is useful, particularly around the industry participation, that it would be useful for you all to have answers to there. the kind of company play the role of both a subcontractor and a collaborator? Alexa, do you mind me asking him, I guess, why or how, why would that model be needed?
Yes, so basically in our prospective collaborator, a company who would provide kind of the ideal case study for development of a new technology proposal. At the same time, they have a software development team, which would be ideally used to create a prototype to tune it to practical applications, if possible. So from that perspective, of course, company would be a collaborator sharing the case study, share the kind of industrial setup and application. On the other hand, they may play a role of just developer or help with the development, software development of a prototype. So it kind of comes very naturally for in this case. I believe in other cases could be different, and this is totally different things. But yeah, so I just wonder.
Those different hats, yeah. Okay. It's useful to have that.
Useful to have if it's possible to combine. But first of all, kind of first question is it possible at all to have a company as a subcontractor?
Yeah. That one I do think is a yes. Yeah. I know, yeah, from experience anyway in the past, that has been allowable through UKRI, where companies have acted as subcontractors. So I'm almost certain that is a yes. Yes, a company can act as a subcontractor. But then it's so whether or not the same company can have a role as a collaborator and as a subcontractor, because they'll have different functions, they'll be performing different tasks or roles within the same project. Okay, yeah. That one I'll come back to one.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So a few things there for me to follow up on, which I will do as a matter of urgency and get back to you all. And just again, sorry that I couldn't provide responses to some of those questions. Is there anything else, I guess, in terms of what is being asked within the call? So the expectations of the scope of the call, that anyone wants to get some information on before we go about 12 minutes, but we obviously don't. I will probably just stay on for the 12 minutes, just in case anyone else drops in later on. But if no further questions, then we can drop off in a minute or so. And just say Najma's put a couple of links in the chat around the Community Hub directory. I had also, let me just put my slides back on, just wanted to plug a survey that we currently have out. So when I say we, Dare UK, we have a landscape review survey out at the moment. And it's for any organizations that manage, process, or provide access to sensitive data for research. The deadline just coincidentally is the day after the deadline for this call. And I'll put a link in the chat as to where you can locate that survey. So we really are trying to get a full picture of the types of services people are currently using, the challenges people are facing, and the priorities that organizations have identified over the next couple of years. So if you could respond to that survey, if your organization is in scope, that would be fantastic. Just pop a chat, put a proper link, sorry, in the chat shortly. And then just as well, we've got just some QR codes. So this will help you to stay connected with us and where we can keep you updated on opportunities, networking events, etc. That are related to the Dare UK programme. So if you aren't already, please do sign up to our newsletter and our LinkedIn page and our X page as well, and just follow us so that you can stay up to date and informed. So perhaps I'll leave that on for about 30 more seconds. And then I'll post a link to the survey in the chat. And then if nothing else, I will let you all continue on with your days and follow up on those questions and get back to you on that.
Final question, Michelle, if I may. Regarding the expected deliverables, do you expect any specific format? Is it a report, an open source release? Do you have any ideas around this?
Yeah, all outputs should be open source. Tend to use GitHub. GitHub's quite good to publish repos on there, and then we put reports and outputs on the Zenodo, the Dare UK Zenodo community as well. But yeah, they all should be kind of out open source and accessible to everyone.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. Just going to get a link to our survey. Put that into the chat. So I've just dropped a link in the chat to the Dare UK website where it gives an overview of the survey we're conducting, and it contains a link to actually take the survey as well. So please do have a look and respond if you feel that your organisation is relevant to the survey. And if nothing else, then I'll just thank you all for attending and wish you luck in your applications over the next 2 weeks. Yeah, happy application filling, and I hope you get it goes well. All right, take care. Thank you all. I will stay on, but yeah, feel free to drop off.
Right. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye.